All right, awesome. And we are live. I am Kristen Kerr, and today I am speaking with Richmond Alec, who is a machine learning architect at Slalom Build and co-founder of OpenSpeech. And so today he's going to show us an amazing demo of OpenSpeech that I am super excited to see. Richmond, would you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about OpenSpeech?
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having me, Christian. So my name is Richmond. I'm a machine learning practitioner, professionally machine learning architect at Slalom Build over here in the UK. My journey obviously is through machine learning, is working as a computer vision engineer and a machine learning engineer. But that has led me to solve problems really with machine learning and technology, and that's how OpenSpeech came about. So I guess you asked to talk about OpenSpeech, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I have a similar platform to yours, like a podcast situation where I talk to other like-minded folks within the machine learning and data space. And I started to edit my videos for about 3 to 4 hours. You know how it is. You record 1 hour, you have to edit for about 3 hours. And that drained me. But after editing and creating an audio or video asset, I had to start promoting these episodes on platforms like Medium, Twitter, LinkedIn, you know the game, and newsletter. And that drained me again. So I thought, okay, I have this content creator workflow. Can AI actually optimize or maybe automate a few of these processes, such as the content generation, right? I've already made one asset. Can I just use AI to make different assets? And me and my brother, he's also the co-founder of OpenSpeech, we came together during Christmas and spent 3 days just hacking away, and we built a feature. It worked. So today, we've turned that feature into a product called OpenSpeech, and that's what I'll be demoing today. So I'm good to go when you are.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love that your co-founder is your brother. That's amazing. Yeah, so let's hop right into this demo. I'll
Yeah.
do that up.
So building OpenSpeech, we mainly focused on audio. So you can see we've got 3 channels where you can upload different type of audio content. So either MP3s or WAV files, or you could record live. You could use this for like journaling situations, or you could put a YouTube link, which is what I'm going to be demoing today. From some user feedback, we actually added the ability to upload videos as well. But I looked at one of your videos on YouTube with Kenji, good friend of ours,
Yep.
and I wanted to use that as a video. I hope you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. So with OpenSpeech, you could just take a YouTube link, because what I used to do is I'll put my podcast on YouTube. Then I had to then maybe write a transcript or an article on it and post on Medium. But here I could just paste in the link and just submit it to our backend servers. Now, that video was about an hour long, so it would take about 2 to 3 minutes to process. But while it's cooking up in the background, I can talk about what's happening. So we're using a bunch of people that work within the AI and ML space who probably know a bit of what I'm talking about, but I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. What's happening right now is we take, when we go from a YouTube link, we take the video and then we convert it into an audio. So once we do the conversion from an audio, we actually start to transcribe the audio. And transcribing the audio, we do different things as well. We do speaker diarization, which we're identifying each of the speakers within the audio itself. And also we're doing a timestamp situation where we can see each word at a timestamp level. So this actually helps with a lot of analysis that I'm going to show you later, which, for example, pacing, which is how quickly you're speaking. So next, one thing that happens again is we actually take the transcript and pass it into a few LLMs, and this essentially starts to create summaries of the transcript itself, or we're creating summaries for different audio assets such as LinkedIn post, Twitter post, or articles, or even making up quiz questions. And building this tool, one of the key things we were focused on was quality of the content that's generated. I know that's a lot of, there's similar tools to OpenSpeech online, but quality is a very big factor. And another aspect of OpenSpeech is the speed. How quickly can we get that audio? Can we process the audio and give the user the asset? Which we're always trying to minimize the speed to ensure that our users are not waiting for too long. But I'll also show you some cool stuff on the analysis side where we can see some entity detection, personality detection, and tone detection. So we give it a few seconds. I think that's been a minute or two. It's a long video, but if you were to put maybe to be honest, doing a live demo is always risky. So I've actually pre-processed this video already. So just in case, who knows, fingers crossed, we can still see the results. But OpenSpeech is not live yet. I know some people are very keen to use it, but we don't have it live online yet. So if you do sign up, you will get kicked out automatically. But we have been working with some early adopters to get feedback on the tool. And some of the early adopters we'll be working with, a lot of people know because they're quite prominent content creators within the data and AI space. So, okay, yeah, we're done here. And you get the notification that it's done. Just to mention, this whole interface was built by my brother. So he's a web developer, very talented. His name is Raymond. So he's very clean, minimal. So he built the whole interface of OpenSpeech. So we can see this is the one we just uploaded, and this is the one I was using as a backup. You can see there's about an hour time difference. So we can go into the actual audio, and we can see the transcript.
That's so clean looking, because I'm currently playing with transcripts myself for a different project, but I don't have it, by speaker, which I could see being a super relevant metric if you want to understand like who's taking over your meetings, who, I could see it used for like a number of different ways, but I've never played with text data at this granularity from a transcription.
Yeah, it's actually very clean, and it's an intuitive user interface that Raymond has built. So one thing to mention, you can listen back to the audio here as well. We added that little feature just by using the tool. But I could talk about what we can see on the screen. So speaker one is obviously you, because this is how you always start the conversation. And speaker two is Ken. So we can see that you spoke for about 25% of the conversation, which is always good. If you're a host of your podcast, you want your guest to talk more.
And yeah, if it was flipped the other way, that might be a problem.
I can tell you how that came about, right? So this feature itself, when I was doing my podcast, I used to be worried that I was talking way too much. So I thought I need to actually quantify that, so I can obviously visualize that in this episode. How much did I talk? And notice that there's a progression that I'm reducing my amount of speaking time on my podcast. So that's why I built this. This too is a selfish sort of endeavor, but it's very useful. So next, you can actually click into speaker one, which is Ken, and we can see that Ken is pacing. This is how many words per minute you actually utter. Is 176, and yours is 166. So Pen talks much faster than you do. So again, as a public speaker, pacing, talking slow, calm was something that was very important to me. So I needed a way to measure that. So again, I built this tool in, and Raymond made it look very clean. But we can actually go into some analysis, right? OpenSpeech actually conducts a various different form of sentiment analysis, entity analysis, and person detection. And we even played around with personality detection, which is a bit weird, but it's useful for some different use cases. So what this does is I could tell you the tools we're using for an analysis. We're using Hugging Face. Hugging Face have some very good infrastructure to play about with machine learning models and build yours. And they also have the inference endpoint, which makes it very easy to integrate any of your models on Hugging Face into your own projects. But here we can see, maybe I could zoom in. Let's go. There we go. Here we can see speaker one is Ken. It mentioned you, Kristen. It talks about Scout Consulting, which I know is the organization it works at. Talks about LangChain as well. So we're looking at entities we've detected, and it talks about obviously the Cool Data project show. Then speaker two is you. You speak about the same thing as well, and we're just picking out all these entities and information. You could use this as tags for your YouTube videos or for any other platform you're working on. So I'm just going to zoom back out. There we go. So you guys spoke about a lot about Python, Plotly, R, JavaScript, Streamlit, which
All the
is
good stuff.
yeah. So let's go into the cool stuff, right? This part excites me, but most people are not excited. If you're not like a podcaster, this part, you won't be excited by this part. Most people are excited by the content generation. And we can start with a LinkedIn post. So right here, we can convert that conversation, this episode, into a LinkedIn post, and you don't have to get those creative juices flowing too much anyway, and you could just use OpenSpeech to actually construct something you can put on your LinkedIn platform. And again, we're trying to use some LLMs, and there's a lot of techniques out here that we're using to extract to get some very good quality. But here we go. Let me zoom out so we can see that. So this is a LinkedIn post, and it's got Ken G. That's meant to be a J, but it's got most of the details right about Ken. It's also included some emojis as well. Mentions the fact that he's interested in sports analytics, and this is writing this from your perspective, but you can change it to different perspective as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Which is what, when we were using the tool, because we use OpenSpeech as well. When we were using the tool before, okay, we want to change the speaker, that the content, the perspective, the content is written in, but also the sort of tone as well. We wanted to change the tone as well, just to make sure we can have things that are maybe humorous. So let's try something, right? Let's go with something a bit more funny, and we could do it in a third person, and then you just have to regenerate the content. And I was talking about extracting quality from large language models. And I know a lot of people, when they want to improve their quality, they start thinking about fine tuning, but fine tuning can be a bit costly, right? So we started to think about how can we get how can we get the output of OpenSpeech to be very relevant and enough for the user to immediately post it on other platforms. So we have something called a double back quality check, where when we generate a summary of a transcript, we have a technique where we can reference the transcript and the summary and see if the summary actually has picked out the most important parts of the transcript. And then we have a threshold percentage score. They will identify the part that has been missed out, then we can add it back into the summary. So that's something that we've been playing around before we get to the fine-tuning aspect of the model, right? Because fine-tuning can be costly. There are other techniques such as retrieval augmented generation that can help improve the sort of the quality of the model by using a knowledge base and using some real-time data. But again, we've got another content that's been generated. I would say this is quite humorous, but it's still very well written, and it's something that you would probably see on LinkedIn anyway. Over to you, Chris.
Relevant, that's the difficulty with using something like ChatGPT is, like, even if you give it a prompt, a lot of times it's not going to, like, this took actual key points from the video and gave it back to you in a relevant, organized way that makes sense.
Exactly. Do you want to choose a content type? Let's see what it generates. I can zoom in.
Yeah, I'd love to see what it comes up with for show notes.
Okay, so show notes is quite interesting. You picked that. Let's see. I've used show notes for mine, and the quality of it is not that great, but it doesn't do too bad either. Where it falls through is in the timestamps it might generate. So we're still working on allocating the right timestamp to some sections of the data that is generated. And the reason why is because we actually create a summary. So for show notes, we probably have to reference the original transcript. But again, that is a large context. That's a large tokens that you're going to be using. So here we go with the show notes. So we've got a very good summary, and we've got the timestamps, and we've got the chapters. But you would have to double check that these are very relevant as well, because I know that conversation was about an hour, but again, the timestamp seems a little bit short here. But apart from that, we're good with the key quotes, and is actually try to put in some Instagram
That
links.
saves time. Yep.
But yeah, so we're trying to improve this tool to make it very specific to content creators. But this tool, we've spoken to some health professionals, and they want this yesterday. But because for example, like in a therapy situation, right? Therapies are usually conversations that people have with the therapist, and to then get a mental health report over here in the UK, you could wait for about 2 weeks. But we've spoken to mental health practitioners, and they've used this tool to generate a mental health report in 2 minutes, right? And that streamlines the whole process. But the problem with it is, working within healthcare, is you're going to have a lot of regulations, data privacy laws, GDPR compliant, HIPAA compliant. So we went for the content creator industry because, one, we are content creators ourselves, and we know a lot of content creators. So it's easy to talk to the end users of this version of our product.
Right. Yeah. No. And even if like the links are wrong or something, it still gives you the template for this is how you're going. Like that is a cheat sheet regardless, while you go and update some of the timing and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a seed. It's something to work with without you having to start from scratch, which for me, after doing about 3 hours of editing on Descript, putting together like show notes and a blog post, then doing a LinkedIn, it becomes very draining for me as a content creator. I'm sure you can relate as well. But interesting thing about the links, right? We've got a few things that are coming out in a few months that will sort of make sure it uses more relevant content to the actual content creator itself. So we'll be creating this content types within your own specific tone as well, and the way you actually generate content. So we'll allow you to link OpenSpeech to your LinkedIn or your Twitter, and we can generate content within your style, essentially. So that's the end goal. And there's a bunch of things we've been playing around, but things that have been a bit exciting over the past few this month, particularly in September and a bit of October. Things have been a bit exciting. We've joined a few startup programs here and there, and and in terms of feature wise, it's been exciting to build.
No, this is super exciting. Can we also see what happens when you click on Brainstorm?
All right. So Brainstorm is another selfish content type, right? So I do a lot of research, reading research paper, also reading a bunch of articles. And sometimes I just want to expand on a certain topic that I'm sort of studying or video I'm watching. So I usually put some of this lecture videos and put it into OpenSpeech to give me other subject areas that I can explore as well. So that's what Brainstorm and Study Note came about. Just me reading research papers and wanted some resource that I can always reference. For podcast type situations, it might not work too well, but we'll see what it does. So it's just giving us some key topics, which are core challenge, historical context, background, strengths or weaknesses. That's the structure it's chosen. But again, for some content that is not really educational, Brainstorm and Study Notes might not work that great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is still amazing. Back to the show notes, like you said, it's hours in post-production. Often when I share a clip of something interesting that somebody said, that often performs better than the actual video itself. But to get that clip, I'm actually watching the video through and like waiting for those key moments and then making a video about it. So when you have things like quotes, if I could, just get the important things that are said, get the timestamps, like I can just go in and just start, chopping things up rather than having to watch an hour-long video all the way through, plus the time to create and edit the clips and figure out where I'm gonna, cut everything.
And it's quite interesting you mentioned that, because again, there are a lot of tools that focus on content generation, but you have to be a user to understand the workflow of your customers, right? So you start to see things that you yourself could optimize for yourself that your customers could actually use. Because again, it takes a lot to understand, one, the content and the format of the content. Content creators want to actually want a tool to generate the content in. But there are other things that we have in our pipeline, such as chaining content types, right? You'll be able to select the order you want certain content types to be generated, and then we can automate this. And which is one thing that I was very particular about when we were developing OpenSpeech, was we were very particular about the language we were going to use. And we're not telling content creators, oh, you're going to replace your editor or your blogger, but rather we are actually telling content creators that we can actually streamline the existing workflow, where you can create a blog post within, let's say, 2-3 minutes, and then directly email that to your editor to just brush up, rather than you spending some time then giving it to the editor again to brush up. So we're not replacing anyone that works within the whole ecosystem of content creation. What we're doing is optimizing the process and truly understanding the workflow. So this is a very simple blog post, unleashing the power of ChatGPT on LangChain, and it's a data scientist journey, which is Kenji, obviously, and it talks about Ken, and it structures it in a very good format you see with most blog posts. But you could just email this directly to any sort of editor you're working with, and they could improve it and brush it up. Because I know a lot of content creators have teams and they just don't work solo. So yeah, that's OpenSpeech.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So would you mind telling us if there were any, interesting challenges or different things that you experienced along the way creating this?
Yeah, for sure. So I've spoken about the messaging of how you message an AI product tool, which you don't say you're going to replace a certain role. You instead, it's better to come through it the angle of actually understanding that you're not replacing, but you're optimizing, or you're automating. So that was one challenge for us, is how the messaging factor. Another challenge for us, which I've also mentioned, is generating enough quality from the summaries that we generate in OpenSpeech. So we summarize the transcript. So we have our internal techniques that actually ensures that the summary is good enough to actually generate an article where you can reference the transcript and you can see that, okay, no major information has been lost. So information loss was another challenge. But those are the main challenges I've come across. And funny enough, this is a funny one. I'm used to building features as an engineer. So I work within large organization, within large teams, and we build specific features, or we build things that we don't have to worry about the end user as much, customers.
Yep.
But with OpenSpeech, we're on a journey where we're learning how to talk to users, talk to early adopters, find early adopters, market our products. And that's a different side to building AI products that necessarily most technical engineers are not exposed to. And you can only get exposed to it by actually building your products or going to work in maybe a startup, essentially, where you wear different hats. But building OpenSpeech has definitely been a journey that myself and Raymond have enjoyed and has allowed us to grow. So one challenge we faced was integrating Stripe, right? So we've never had to do that, as in you'd have to do that as a machine learning engineer, trying to integrate a product with Stripe webhooks or whatnot. But that was an interesting challenge that took some all-nighters, essentially figuring out and reading documentation. It's not the obvious stuff, right? It's not any machine learning stuff. It's the human stuff and the not so technical stuff as well that have proven more challenging.
Oh, very cool. And then so you talked a little bit about, the algorithms that are powering this. Can you just sort of
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, we tried to use some custom LLMs to actually generate this content, but the outputs were not that great. So big shout out to Hugging Face because they have a very good infrastructure that allows you to create to use some state of the art models and create inference endpoints and models you could just integrate into your project very easily. And they have a very good support system as well. So when I was building OpenSpeech in back earlier this year, me and Raymond, we were talking with the developers Hugging Face because we were using some of the tools and we were going
New
back and forth.
tools that are like just coming out,
Yeah.
right? Like this is really cool.
And we were using it and we would have some issues and we would get a respond at like 2 a.m. in the morning. I was like, damn, this is very good. I really love the service. So we actually have different stuff hosted on Hugging Face, such as we have a sort of a tool that can actually detect interruptions between conversations, but that was a bit costly for us, so we turned it off. So in terms of LLMs, we tried custom ones, but we get better results using GPT 3.5 or GPT-4. But GPT-4 is costly, but you can get a very good performance with GPT 3.5 if you use some in-context learning or maybe some few-shot learning, essentially, where you provide it some examples or even explain the format that you want the output in. And then I spoke about the internal technique we're using, the double back quality check, where we're making sure a summary is actually not losing any key information, right? So that's why it's called double back, because if we have the threshold where we've seen that there's an information loss, we go back and regenerate that summary with the missing content. So the algorithm is not too complex because we do leverage third parties and we have a good support system as well. So we're part of the NVIDIA Inception program. We're part of the AWS startup program as well. So infrastructure wise, there's support that we can always go to when we run into roadblocks with any complex technical infrastructure stuff. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so, more personal question, how much time are you spending on this, right? So you have like a full-time regular job, and then you and your brother are like nerding out in the evening.
Yeah. So me and my brother are techies. We've both been in the tech space for several years. So we speak about like tech stuff, and this is fun for us. So how much time? So funny enough, the machine learning or maybe integrating with external LLMs is not the hard part. That's actually the easy part. The hard part is designing the application and building something that is intuitive that people understand and can utilize. That's the hard part. So there's a lot of iteration. So the technical stuff, because me and my brother were both technical, so most of the technical stuff is done. We go back and forth with colors. That's what we do. We like this color is not too good, or this color is not this color is not the right one to use, or you're using the same colors. Stuff that non-technical folks are probably get bored about. But yeah, so OpenSpeech does take some time to build, but it's fun. So we don't notice the time go away.
Awesome. So what are you specifically working on? Like, what components are you working on like right now, and what's in the immediate future? What's like top of
Yeah.
mind?
So right now we're looking to bring this out to the people to use. So we've worked with some early adopters that have utilized this tool. Right now we're actually looking to deploy it and put in production within the next 2 weeks, where you'll be able to use a free version and actually pay to use more aspect of the tool. Feature wise, there are so many angles that we can take this, because I'm excited, right? I'm excited about this tool, about the analysis. But most people are more excited about the content. But feature-wise, we're looking at automation. We're looking at getting more quality out of the models. We're looking at custom LLMs again for specific content types this time. We're looking at how we can visually, how we can visualize the content creation workflow and put that within OpenSpeech so you can start to build blocks. So whenever you upload a video to YouTube on your channel, it automates the whole process and sends it out to specific emails or team members without you having to come into OpenSpeech itself. And we're looking at basically taking ourselves from a product to a platform. So within the Q4 of this year, and we're basically looking forward to just having fun building it. It's very interesting building a tool that we market as an AI product.
Yeah, no, this is so awesome. There's so many features here that as a content creator, I personally can't wait to play with. Switching gears, for the person who wants to start playing with ML or LLMs, are there resources or where would you tell them to sort of get started?
Yeah, so there are resources, and I would say if you want to get within the machine learning space, the large language model space, or the AI space, definitely start watching some lectures video. Stanford and MIT put out the lectures on YouTube, so those lectures are gold. People pay several hundreds of thousands of dollars for that, so they put out for free, so you're getting quality on that knowledge side. But generally, just build something, right? So go through your day and look at something that you could probably automate, or you probably think AI will be very good here, and just plan it out. Then look for tools that can actually make this a reality, because the space is moving away from being very research focused and even technical focused, and where AI is becoming more product focused, and we're thinking more about the end user. Maybe about 5-6 years ago, it took a while for things to come out from research and get into commercial use. Today, that gap is just within weeks or months, right? Things come out of research. You see new tools like Midjourney, utilizing them. So really understanding how to build AI products is probably a very good skill set to start out with. But just to summarize, watch the videos on YouTube put out by great universities. They're free. Look for a problem in your life that you can use AI to solve. It doesn't matter if you think it's too hard. Then start looking at the components you can use to build those tools. So things like LangChain, Hugging Face, Pinecone, MongoDB, or Databricks. Start looking into that infrastructure side. Then take things a bit further and understand how to market or talk to people about AI products.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I feel like there's not much you can't do these days with like YouTube and a dream, right? And I completely agree that the packages that we're seeing now, like, yes, there's a higher level of abstraction, so you may not understand what's going on under the hood, but like you can do something pretty impressive by gluing a couple of packages together, and actually get some output. And so it is important to just get your hands dirty, because that's where I know for myself, like, even if I don't have deeper knowledge in a certain area, I start to get the high level picture of what's going on just by playing with some of these packages, or knowing that these tools exist, and like, knowing what is available to us. That's awesome. If somebody wanted to find and follow you, how would they do that?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you just type my name, Richmond Alake, I will come up. And also my brother as well, Raymond Alake, he will come up as well. So you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can follow me on Medium if you're interested in reading some of the ML and AI articles I put out as well. So yeah, just search my name up on Medium and you can follow me on there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And so thank you so much for coming and sharing this
Yeah.
demo. Absolutely loved getting to watch this. Love that you used one of my videos. Is there anything that you want to share that we didn't get a chance to cover?
No, nothing at all. I think this is a great platform for practitioners to come on and just talk about the cool stuff they're doing and have some good conversation. I always love talking to data folks,
Right.
but nothing else to share apart from, yeah, things are moving fast, right? Times are changing.
So fast.
Today's what, October October 17. In a month's time, ChatGPT came out maybe 11 months ago, and the world is changed essentially, right? So things move very fast, and if you feel like you're falling behind, trust me, everyone feels that way. Just pick something and just go along. You can't catch up with the field, but if you keep learning, you won't get left behind, basically.
Yeah, no, totally. I almost feel like I have tool fatigue recently. Like there's just which framework am I going to use? I don't want to learn another one. I've got these
Yeah.
3 over here. It's a lot. It's overwhelming, but it's so exciting, and it has been going so fast. I remember, manually doing things 10 years ago that we wouldn't dream of doing manually now, and so exciting. And thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everyone else for coming and watching, and we will see you soon.
All right. Bye, guys.